This is 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, HD3, Indianapolis.
The Pacers are in Oklahoma City to face the Thunder tomorrow night at 7:30 on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Welcome to On the Horizon Weekly with Greg Rakestraw on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Well, this is the ninth and final edition for season number 1 of On the Horizon Weekly here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. We have made it to the finish line because we are at the Barbasol Horizon League tournament. We are in the Vallejo Fan Zone, which is better known as the Grand Hall when you are here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. We are literally across the street from the Indiana Farmers Coliseum, and this is officially the place to hang out when you are between sessions, as we are. The number 1 and number 2 teams in the Horizon League in terms of women's basketball both reach tomorrow's championship game, and they have been the two teams that we have focused so much of our attention and energy on this program, and rightfully so. Cleveland State ran their record to 29-4. They were 30-5 a season ago as they throttled Wright State this afternoon by a score of 83-50. They put up 30 points in the opening quarter. They led by 20 at halftime. It got to 38 by the end of quarter number 3. That was the 1-4 game in terms of the women's game earlier today. The second game, we thought it would be closer, and it was. In fact, Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Green Bay were tied early in the fourth quarter. But Green Bay did just enough to survive and advance, won by about an 8-point margin over Purdue, Fort Wayne. And so the two teams that have been the top teams that we have spent so much energy and time focusing on will play tomorrow at noon. You can catch that game on ESPNU, or better yet, you can get here and join us at the Indiana Farmers Coliseum, because believe me, that'll be worth your time. Green Bay was potentially in line for an at-large berth in the tournament, and still might be, because they had a pair of top 25 victories earlier this year against Washington State and Creighton. They lost their last regular season game to Milwaukee, which perhaps put them on the wrong side of the NCAA tournament bubble. They don't have to worry about it if they get the W tomorrow afternoon. Cleveland State, while having an impressive record and clearly being a very good team, they probably know they have to win their way in. So that's kind of the activities that took place this afternoon. That now leads us up to the men's semifinals, which are about to start in less than an hour. The number 1 seed, Oakland, the only home team that won during Thursday's quarterfinal games that were played on campus. They beat the number 8 seed in Purdue, Fort Wayne. They will take on the number 7 seed in Cleveland State. Cleveland State pulled off both the biggest numerical upset of the quarterfinal round when they beat number 2 seed Youngstown State. They did so by 20-plus points. They also did it without their best player in Tristan Enaruna. And that is going to be a big part of the topic of conversation tonight. How healthy is he? Will he be able to give it a go? Again, when they take on the number 1 seed in Oakland, that is the 7 o'clock game this evening. Then it is the number 5-6 game. Wright State and Northern Kentucky played in the quarterfinals last week. NKU won that one 99-97 in overtime at the Nutter Center. Northern Kentucky has the league's Sportsmanship Award winner in Marquez Warwick, who also happens to be the leading scorer in the now 50-plus year history of NKU basketball. He will lead the charge for them. It's an NKU team that probably had higher aspirations than being the 5 seed in the Horizon League, but they also lost kind of Marquez's running mate to a season-ending injury in terms of Sam Vinson, and they've been trying to figure out a way to kind of just scrape by without him throughout the course of the season. Well, they did that in winning at Wright State on Thursday night. The team they will play is Milwaukee, a Milwaukee team that had a great run last year, but didn't exactly fare as well during the course of the regular season this year. And part of it is because they simply had a myriad of injuries, seemingly one after the other. Well, it looks like they finally kind of have their guys healthy, led by one of the best players in the league in terms of B.J. Freeman, and that is the second game tonight. Now, both of tonight's games are on ESPNU, but again, prices are very inexpensive to get down here. And there's a couple different ways I could tell you to go. You can go to horizonleague.com/Indy and get your tickets there, or better yet, just come out to the Indiana Farmers Coliseum. We're not going to turn you away. $10 to park, not that much more to see the game, tremendous concession prices, and again, there is not a bad seat in that house. So we would love to see you out here and enjoying a great Monday evening, a doubleheader of college basketball that is set to head your way in less than an hour. So that's the reason that we are here at this location tonight, is to talk all things Horizon League, as we have done over the course of the first 2 months of the show, and we'll do so for a final time tonight. Tomorrow's championship games, the women's game is at noon, again on ESPNU, featuring the top 2 seeds in terms of Green Bay as well as Cleveland State. Men's championship game is tomorrow night at 7. I know that has still been up for debate in terms of whether it's going to be ESPN or ESPN2. I guarantee you when the commissioner of the Horizon League, and Julia Rowe Last, joins us in a matter of moments, she'll probably have the answer for you on that. Other things that we will do on the show tonight, I'm hoping to get a stop by the radio voice of the Northern Kentucky Norse, that being Jim Kelch. You may know him from his days with the Cincinnati Reds, these days back with the Louisville Bats. But Jim's been a good friend of mine for a long time. We'll get an in-depth preview of game number 2 with Jim when he stops by to join us. Last week we touched on kind of the league players of the year, but did not go through really kind of the first and second team all-league participants. And because I kind of glossed over that last week, I wanted to make sure that we kind of remedied that today on the show, and we'll talk about that and kind of, to some degree, a bit of season in review in terms of discussing just who are the great players in this league this year. But a couple things I will point out in terms about the Horizon League. Again, on the women's side, the conversation was dominated by teams 1 and 2 all year, and those 2 teams, rightfully so, are playing in the championship game tomorrow. And as I have told people about that game, you are really watching 2 of the top 50 to 60 teams in all of NCAA women's college basketball that are playing each other tomorrow. Worth the price of admission there. On the men's side, really there was a big cutoff between, say, Team 8 and 9, and then another gap that was down to teams 10 and 11. Purdue-Fort Wayne again lost to Oakland in the 1-8 game. Purdue-Fort Wayne was a 20-win team this year. They opened their season by beating DePaul, an DePaul program that has struggled mightily, but that is still a Horizon League team that beat a Big East team to start the season. Purdue-Fort Wayne was the 8th seed in the league this year. Robert Morris was 9th. Then you have teams 10 and 11, which were IUPUI and Detroit Mercy. And obviously in both locations, already a coaching change has been announced. IUPUI moving on from Matt Crenshaw. Detroit Mercy moving on from Mike Davis. This was a league that was much improved on the men's side this year. If you get those 2 programs that have struggled heading in the right direction, then I think this league is poised to take even another jump next year. Again, the men's league still a work in progress. Again, Oakland is the number 1 seed. Oakland will be the favorite, but there was such little difference, say, from teams 1 through 8. You could make a case for any of the 4 that are still playing in this league tournament to potentially be the league champs. Oakland has the best win kind of outside of league play because they won at Xavier at the end of November. So they're a team that we have kind of pointed to and talked about on the men's side. But it could be up for grabs for any of those 4 teams. But it is certainly a league that is on the rise, and we have been thrilled to be able to kind of chronicle the story of the league over the course of these last 9 weeks. And we'll do so for one more time tonight leading up until 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get our first timeout out of the way. The commissioner of the Horizon League, Julie Rowe-Lash, will join us in a matter of moments. You can join us, too. We are live at the Vallejo Fan Zone. We are inside of Grand Hall, across from the Indiana Farmers Coliseum. Our semifinals tip at 7 o'clock, led by Oakland and Cleveland State, followed by Milwaukee and Northern Kentucky. The commissioner joins us next as you are listening to On the Horizon Weekly here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
For those fortunate enough to help the person who has always been their hero, find the care guides you need to help at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Are you dealing with foot, knee, hip, or back pain? We can help. Hi, this is Phoebe with the Good Feet store, and I want to talk about your discomfort. Did you know that your feet have a quarter of all the bones in your whole body? With 4 arches, 33 joints, and over 100 ligaments and tendons in each foot, it's no wonder so many people suffer from foot, knee, hip, and back pain. Stop throwing your money away on all those over-the-counter products and expensive shoes that just can't do what the Good Feet store can. At America's Arch Support Store, we teach you everything you need to know about how our patented 3-step system will work to solve your problems so you can get back to living the life you love without your pain getting in the way. Come in today for your free personalized fitting and test walk and trade in those bad feet for some good feet. Don't just live with the pain. Discover your options at the Good Feet store. We're in Fishers and Greenwood. Call 829-1040 or visit goodfeet.com to make your appointment today. Get back to doing what you love with Arch Supports from the Good Feet store.
JMV here for my friends John and Chris Love at Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Spring is here, and you need to make sure your air conditioner is checked and ready as the temps warm up. So tell them JMV sent you, and Love will waive the $95 service fee. Get your AC ready, and should you need a new air conditioner, Love is a Heil Heating and Cooling dealer. Call Love today, 317-353-2141. Let Love and Heil take care of your home today, 317-353-2141. Tell them JMV sent you.
Former pro football offensive tackle Mitch Schwartz knows for a guy, buying jewelry is a daunting task at most stores, but not if you go to Diamonds Direct.
It's very simple and very easy process for a guy to go in there and not be overwhelmed.
Mitch found Diamonds Direct and has been back many times buying jewelry for his wife, Brooke, and he's never felt any pressure.
They're going to educate you about what you're looking for, what the diamonds are, how the process works.
At Diamonds Direct, we respect both you and your budget.
I think everyone's kind of searching for value. You don't want to be taken advantage of, and Diamonds Direct is leading in that regard. You're going to feel really comfortable there. You're going to have a good time. You're going to find something that looks amazing and that you're going to get the best value for it.
So if you're worried about getting sweaty palms when you walk into a jewelry store, relax. Take Mitch's advice and enjoy the experience at Diamonds Direct.
We have definitely recommended Diamonds Direct to friends, to other teammates. Everyone else who has been through there has had as awesome an experience as we have.
Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion. Get directions, showroom hours, and more at diamondsdirect.com.
Hey guys, looking for a reason to spend 3 days on the couch watching basketball? Schedule your vasectomy at Urology of Indiana for a Thursday or Friday, then sit back, relax, and catch some games over the weekend while you recover. It may be the only time your wife approves of hoarding the couch and the remote control. Vasectomies at Urology of Indiana are simple and typically take only about 15 minutes. Soon after, you'll be out the door and on your way home. During your recovery, you'll take ibuprofen and be back to your normal activities in 3 days. The docs at Urology of Indiana are board certified and perform vasectomies every day of the week, all year long. They're pros at what they do. And they have multiple vasectomy clinics, so chances are good there's one close to you. If you've been putting off your vasectomy, now is the time. You'll never have a better excuse to watch basketball. Call Urology of Indiana or visit vasectomyindy.com for information and to schedule an appointment. That's vasectomyindy.com.
My name is Juanita Segura, and I was diagnosed in November of 2014 with non-small cell lung cancer. The first time I heard about biomarker testing was actually my husband. He just started researching about lung cancer.
And I found out about biomarker testing, and I'm like, why not? Let's try it.
I'm Dr. Jorge Gomez, thoracic medical oncologist at the Mount Sinai Hospital. Comprehensive biomarker testing is looking for either substances in the blood or mutations in some of the genes of the cancer cells that can help us identify special types of lung cancer that can be treated with what we call targeted therapies.
Letting my children know brought all of us a sense of hope. To give them hope that mom is going to be around to see you grow up. And I promised them that.
Ask your doctor about how comprehensive biomarker testing before treatment may help you and your doctor decide on the best treatment for you. Visit noonemiss.org for more.
A public service message from Longevity Foundation.
The Supplemental Security Income Program provides monthly payments to help meet basic needs, like putting food on the table, paying the rent, or buying new shoes for growing feet. You may qualify if your income and financial resources are low, and you are 65 or older, or an adult or child with a disability, or who is blind. Call 1-800-772-1213 or go to ssa.gov/SSI to start to apply. Produced by Social Security at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Austin Center here, driver of the Discount Tire, number 2 Ford Mustang, and 2022 NASCAR Cup Series Rookie of the Year. Having the right tire pressure on the racetrack is crucial to my success. Tire pressure is also critical to keeping you safe on the road. Whether it's for safe stopping distances in all seasons or getting the best gas mileage, you want to keep your vehicle's tires properly inflated. Check your tire pressure at least once a month or stop by a local tire retailer for an air check.
A message from the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association.
See Absolute Comfort at the Flower and Patio Show, booth 382, to learn more about Mitsubishi Douglas Mini Splits. Absolute Comfort, your American Standard Mitsubishi Electric Elite Douglas Pro dealer.
Housing discrimination because of race, color, or national origin is against the law. If you believe you've experienced housing discrimination, contact HUD at hud.gov/fair housing.
Query and Company.
Charles Davis is our guest, the NFL Network. The thought of Anthony Richardson was, is he injury prone?
I don't have the cause for concern at this time. You've got to be prepared for it because if he's going to be that big a part of the run game, I don't care how you're built. You know what's hitting you. This is a little bit different. He's going to have to learn how to protect himself better. He's going to have to learn that sometimes getting out of bounds is cool. You don't have to drop the shoulder and take the other hit to show you that you're RoboCop, even though you look like it.
Query and Company, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Yeah, I was doing are we coming on?
You were getting ready, yeah.
Okay.
Welcome back. It is On the Horizon Weekly, the final edition for our inaugural season of this on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. It's very fitting that our first guest on week one of the show on January the 17th is our first guest on the last show on Monday, March 11th. It is the commissioner of the Horizon League, and Julie Rowe-Lash. Commissioner, it's always good to see you.
You too, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Of course, and people will go, all right, you're 2 games into 6 in terms of between now and, 9 or so tomorrow night. But obviously, you've been working on this probably since last year's Horizon League tournament.
Yeah, maybe the day after.
And again, for us in Indianapolis, we say March starts here because the game's on Monday. Your league tournament has been going since last Tuesday.
Right.
What have the last few days been like for you and your staff?
Well, the quarterfinals last Thursday, how exciting. I mean,
right.
to have, and plus it's fun to just go onto ESPN Plus and see all these different Horizon League games to watch all at the same time. Lots of different screens going. And then to see those 4 teams punch their ticket, on the women's it went chalk, but on the men's we had what people were calling upsets. But as you know, there's so much depth, especially on the men's side, that I wouldn't really classify those as upsets just because 2 through 4 didn't win. They definitely had an advantage playing at home. Our fans really come out for those quarterfinals. But, gosh, up and down the line from NKU's close overtime win with Wright State, that was a thriller. And then Cleveland State, I mean, they were here last year. In Milwaukee, they're really peaking right now, both healthy as well as playing so athletic. So we're going to see some great basketball.
I know that this tournament format, we have been doing this now since 2020. It's a hybrid of, hey, there is let's send everybody to Detroit, the previous tournament. And then before that was, hey, everybody's on a home court at some point in time. You get kind of the best of both worlds. Now that you're in year number 5 of this format, just your thoughts as to kind of how it plays out here each and every year.
Yeah, I think we have found the sweet spot for right now, just based on how this evolution has happened. Those quarterfinal games are really a great experience for the student athletes, and you're also rewarding your 1 through 4 seeds at that point with hosting a quarterfinal and earning the right, if you will, to the semis. So that's been pretty exciting. Fans go out for that, help us punch our ticket to Indy, the road to Indy and so forth. So we've been able to build on that. And then obviously once they come here, that's exciting From the police escorts to the team hotel being all decked out, decals everywhere, even the key cards when you check in have our logo on it. And then, of course, the Coliseum staff here, I think, just goes above and beyond to create a really meaningful student-athlete experience.
Absolutely it does. And obviously, you know, when the tournament format was first brought here in 2020, part of 2 days was that it fit very neatly inside of the Big Ten tournament being here. On the women's side every year, on the men's side kind of alternating. And now you've been the only Division I game in town for the last few years. And folks on radio, I can't tell you the smile that comes to Julie's face when I talk about that, that they have kind of have carte blanche here in Indianapolis. But I guess just your thoughts on kind of the niche that this tournament fits into the sports calendar, a very busy one here in the Circle City.
It does fit perfectly right in Champ Week, and we've talked about that. Because of that, we've got some really nice ESPN linear windows, both tonight with the men's semi, women's champ game tomorrow on ESPNU, and then men's is the last 20 years been on ESPN. We have the ESPN/ESPN2 slot, but it's always gone right into ESPN. So that's pretty special exposure because, to your point, there's not a lot of other college championships happening Monday, Tuesday of this week. So we are positioned very nicely. I think it's also been great because the teams then have some time to get here, get settled. We had all 8 teams in practicing yesterday, which was fun to see them. Long day,
right?
But every hour on the hour, a new team took the court for 55 minutes. So that's been a neat experience.
All right, let's talk about the women's games that took place earlier today. And again, we have rightfully so talked about Cleveland State and Green Bay every week on this program because they have been in the top 40 to 50 to 60 teams in the nation. Your thoughts about seeing those two reach the top and playing each other a third time for a league championship tomorrow?
It's going to be a great game. I mean, Cleveland State, hats off to Chris. He's really built that program there. And then you've got Kevin at Green Bay, they've just been a perennial name in the women's basketball landscape. This year, and we've talked about this with our NCAA women's basketball committee reps, we've got an at-large contender for whoever doesn't win tomorrow.
Yep.
Because we've got 2 top teams. And that is, I think, that says a lot for those 2 teams, obviously, but it says a lot for where we are now from an overall strength of women's basketball in this league.
And you led me exactly to kind of where I was going to go. So obviously the team that wins tomorrow, they have to worry about any sort of politicking or somebody championing their cause. They've got that golden ticket. They know they will see their name on the selection show. What can you do in your position to kind of rally the troops to support that second team to get them in? What's that process like for you as a league commissioner?
Well, that process starts back in November.
Sure.
We start having regular calls with the NCAA committee members assigned to the Horizon League, and they've been terrific. Thankfully, our 2 folks this year we had last year as well, so they're very familiar with our teams. But we talk about the top teams, and then as you can imagine, we just had a call a week ago when we were talking about the 4 teams that were likely coming here, but then we realized they wanted to zone in on Green Bay and Cleveland State, understandably so. And through that process, we started to talk about, okay, if Cleveland State wins, we'd like to make our case for why Green Bay needs to be in. If Green Bay wins, we want to make our case. And we're talking about their whole resume, right? How'd they do non-league? Who did they test themselves? To Green Bay's credit, they played a tougher non-league schedule. They had 2 top 25 wins. That really bodes well when the committee's trying to put together that bracket. But I think both should absolutely be in strong consideration. They're going to get one more email from me, and if they'll take my call, I'll be making it on Wednesday morning.
All right, sounds good. So now let's kind of go to the other end of the spectrum. And we'll talk about the men's games tonight in a matter of moments. But I talked about this off the top of the show. You had 8 great teams this year in terms of the league. Your 8th seed won 20 games in terms of Purdue-Fort Wayne. There was a gap to Robert Morris, and then there was a gap to both IU, PUI, and Detroit Mercy. And obviously both schools have announced they're going to make coaching changes and made those announcements last week. So once a school says we're going to make a coaching change, how involved, if at all, does the league office get in something like that?
Well, I consider my role here as a resource and a connector as need be, but we've talked, once we know a school is going to make a change, we will work with them on, are you thinking about a search firm? Here are some available search firms. Here are the searches they've done. These are the coaches, because we can do all of that research. That's part of our job. I call it a transition resource. That's what we need to do. And then there's obviously the connection points of how's your list? How deep is it? How diverse is it across sitting head coaches versus the strong assistant at some Power 5 schools? Where have they had success? when they haven't, why, and then there's the character checks too, right? I mean,
sure.
They might look good on paper, but are they going to be able to come in and really connect with the student athletes, recruit the ones you want to stay, and then be able to go out and recruit the ones you want to bring in? So I am absolutely in communication. And then the level, I really defer to the AD and the president or chancellor.
Well, let's also then just kind of sing the praises of these recent hires. And you can go back a few years for Jared Calhoun, but obviously their program has taken off in the last 2 or 3 years. Again, the job that your coach of the year in Sundance Wicks did to go from 3 wins to leading the league for a good chunk of it in terms of Green Bay. What Bart has done in Milwaukee, you've got other more established coaches. Daniel Robinson would be in that mix in terms of more recent hires for Cleveland State. So clearly, whatever the formula is, on the men's side, your teams are trying to figure it out, and they've hired some really good coaches, and obviously it's made your league a better one.
It does, and it absolutely comes down to the people, right? And really every job profession, you say that, you wonder, is that cliche? No, it's not. And I've said that to our coaches. We have a really strong room. Yeah. And it's up and down the line. And you went ahead and you listed them all off. The Darren Horn is, of course, here with NKU and Scott Nagy. I feel like they've been, along with Greg Campy, that veteran stock. And now John Kaufman's a veteran coach. He's just not a veteran to the league. But he brings that strong presence. So it's when our coaches get together, I can tell you we have some lively meetings. But it's because they care.
Not with that group, I can't believe that. No.
But I appreciate their passion and their commitment. And they, of course, they want to win and they want to beat each other. But they have bought in to the need for this entire league to get better, and they recognize that, and they understand that's only going to help them, because whoever wins tomorrow night, right, champ night, they need to be coming from a strong, credible Horizon League that's only going to help their seed path.
It is easy to break down the games, and we can certainly do that. But as far as tomorrow's games are concerned, yes, games will take place, but you and your league office do as much as you can to truly make it an experience. So what else is going into more than just basketball, very important basketball, that's played tomorrow at the Indiana Farmers Coliseum?
Yeah, there's a two-pronged experience here. We talk about the student-athlete and the coach experience. And first, I'll just tell you, so of course they're staying down. We've got everybody at the same hotel, and they've bought into that, thankfully, because then we can deck it out. But they get a police escort to their games, which is big time shooting up Meridian, right? Where we have the street pole banners, so they have that big-time experience. Yesterday, when they got here for team practice, we had Natalie Uchanwa, who played at Notre Dame and then played for the Fever for 6 years, here to welcome them. When I introduced her, and she's got a strong presence anyway, as 6'5", eyes got really big because we've got this WNBA player here to welcome them to Indy. Right. Because she said, look, Indiana is still my home. I played for the Lynx, but I kept my house here, and I want to welcome you to Indiana. That's pretty powerful. We had Aaron Harris, who, of course, is born and raised in Indy and then played at West Virginia and then at Michigan State, played pro internationally. He welcomed on the men's side. Those are the small touches that I think make that student-athlete experience great. Lots of upgrades and bells and whistles inside the Coliseum, from the light show to the new court. So they noticed that during shoot-around. I had a lot of coaches and ADs come up to me and comment on it. And then the fan experience. We're sitting here in the fan zone, which we really appreciate Vallejo, again, stepping up to be our title sponsor. We have the KeyBank International Women's Day celebration tomorrow with over 350 people coming to hear inspiration from Mel Raines, Ebony Armstrong, and Melody Parker, who's all from the Pacers team that have really both done the whole renovation, the All-Star Weekend, just a power panel of women leaders. And then finally, School Day. Anthem has stepped up to be our sponsor for that. It's not going to be quiet tomorrow during the women's game, Greg.
It never is.
We're going to have nearly 3,000 students. But the best part of that is a lot of those kids, every year I've had teachers come up to me and say, this is the first college basketball game that the kids in my class are seeing, or this is the first time they're seeing women compete at this elite level. So that to me is what it's all about.
And frankly, a lot of the things that you touched on, like having Nata Chanwa or having Aaron Harris, and I think back to the event that you were kind enough to ask me to be a part of when you had Media Day here back before the season started, where you had a player like Kiefer Sykes that played for the Indiana Pacers and as a proud alum of Green Bay. You really have hit on the phrase major experiences. That all falls under the auspices of the brand recharge. And if you listened or watched any of the hundreds of games that go to ESPN Plus and the Horizon League, we talk about brand recharge all of the time. So I literally look over your left shoulder. The logo looks mostly the same. It's a little bit different.
Right, a little modern.
There were some key tenets that you really wanted to say, listen, This is who we are. This is what we focus on. This is what we're going to do. So for those that have not heard the spiel before, what exactly does this brand recharge mean for this league?
Yeah, thank you for that prompt. I appreciate it because it's been really important. And it was a lot more than a refreshed logo, to your point. One thing we talked about is what are the pillars that make us distinct and unique? There's 32 Division I conferences. Sure. What's special about us? One thing is our location. We're in these incredible major cities that provide not just great for our student athletes to live in, to study, to compete, but to travel to. You know, one of my favorite stories, Gerald Calhoun at Youngstown State, when he goes to Milwaukee, he arranges it so his team can catch a Bucks game.
Sure.
And one year he then went up to Green Bay to play, and they got a tour of Lambeau. That's taking advantage of this major city footprint that we're able to be a part of. Major experiences, we hope that that's exactly what we're delivering this over the course of this championship, but we try to do that for all 19. We try to do that, as you said, at our media day and celebration at Cambridge in the fall for our basketball teams. So what else can we do to create that major experience moment? Major moves. We like to pride ourselves in being first or at least innovative. So whether it's the first conference-wide NIL marketplace, whether it's celebrating Coach John McLendon's legacy, and tomorrow we're going to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the Secret Game. That's another major move. Anything we can do to really be innovative that aligns with our values. And then finally, major impact. You know, our student athletes do that best, but the amount of service they do in their communities, we at the league level partner with Team Impact. So every one of our campuses have signed on to bring in a kid who's got a chronic illness. They're not going to ever be able to compete in sports. They have a signing day. They get to be on the bench or on the soccer team. But every one of our campuses is committed to that partnership, which is truly a major impact.
All right, final thing before I let you go. There's 2 more basketball games. The first one's going to tip off in about 30 minutes. What do you do during the game? Where are you sitting? Where are you watching the game? How busy? Are you locked in like a fan, or are you kind of roaming the grounds during the course of those upcoming 2 games?
I probably go to 10 to 15 different spots during the game. You know, right. I got to go visit all the ADs and chancellors, check in with my staff. And then there's a lot of people like you, strong community leaders, that I just want to thank for being here and supporting. So to me, this is fun. It's a little bit like homecoming, and it is a celebration in the midst of incredible basketball. We still have some tickets for those that are driving by the fairgrounds. Come join us, and definitely come tomorrow because it's going to be some great basketball ahead of us.
Again, 7 o'clock doubleheader tonight, noon and 7 for championship games tomorrow. ESPNU for both games tonight, ESPNU tomorrow. And again, that ESPN2 window for the men's championship tomorrow at 7. I've just commandeered 20 minutes of your time. That's enough. Julie, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for having us out.
Absolutely.
Commissioner of the Horizon League, Julie Rolash, kind enough to join us. We will take a quick time out. We will come back with one final segment, maybe a guest or two, maybe a lot of me just kind of going through what the Horizon League season was. As again, we'll recap some of the first and second team all-league performers that we didn't touch on last week when those honors were first given out. Back with more in a moment. Again, you can stop by and say hello to us because the Vallejo Fan Zone is open until 7. And the reason it shuts down is at 7, well, because the game started at 7. You should be going across the street to watch those. Back for one more segment with me and one more segment of On the Horizon Weekly for this basketball season on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We're all different. 1 in 5 of us live with a mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Talk to someone you trust. Learn more at bringchangetomind.org. Indy Humane, committed to helping Central Indiana's pets in need since 1905. Find your new best friend today. indyhumane.org.
Your nose is for breathing. Your mouth is for eating. And if you're breathing through your mouth, it's not because your body wants to. It's because it has to, because your nose isn't working properly. And although you've lived like this, it's no way to live, and it's having a significant impact on your life. I know you know this, and I know that taking action isn't always convenient. But at Advent, we've done all we can to make changing your life for the better as easy as possible. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. With tens of thousands of our patients, a thorough breathing triangle evaluation, along with a simple 20-minute in-office procedure called balloon sinuplasty, has opened their nasal passages, allowing them to breathe freely through their nose for good. And there's a good chance this procedure can do the same for you. We'll help you breathe through your nose again, and it will change your life.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
AdventKnows.com.
Results may vary.
All right, guys, it's March. You know what that means. March Madness, and I don't mean of the basketball variety. I mean, after a long winter, it's time to start thinking about the madness of spring cleaning, and that's where Zero Res of Indy comes into play. Hey, it's Andy Sweeney. If you're anything like me, you know those carpets and hardwood floors, they need a good cleaning, and it's time to start thinking about those air ducts as well. Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings this month with Zero Res. 317-388-5141. Online, ZeroResIndy.com. This month, our listeners only get 3 rooms cleaned starting at just $129, plus Zero Res will throw in a free hallway. But that's not all. Zero Res is taking $75 off your next air duct cleaning. Guys, those air ducts are the lungs of your home. Get all that built up dust and dirt out of your home today. Mention the Fan and give Zero Res a call. 388-5141 or book online, ZeroResIndy.com.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you could start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So, get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career. No experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Hey, it's JMV, and for 6 months, you've been hearing me talk about the 2-year membership at the Legends Golf Club. This offer will be ending soon. For only $249 a year, you can be a member at the Legends for 24 and the 25 season. Call 317-736-8186 or online at thelegendsgolfclub.com. That's thelegendsgolfclub.com. $249 a year for 2024 and 2025. This is the last shot you have for great golf. Don't double bogey this opportunity.
You love spring in Indy, so don't spend it painting. Do what your neighbor Mike did. He called Rhino Shield.
Our home is basically a contemporary, and we just started noticing that the paint was just fading and just looked like garbage. We had received a postcard from Rhino Shield, and we decided to take a look at it.
Rhino Shield's formulated for our specific climate here in Indiana.
The process with Rhino Shield and their crew, they were just very conscientious. We had problems in the past with painters. They leave debris and everything. Well, we didn't have that with Rhino Shield.
Way better than paint, backed by a 25-year warranty. Right now, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
The thing about Rhino Shield, the heat gain has been reduced, and we save $70 a month. You don't hear that about any type of paint.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino!
Paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
If your car is less than 10 years old, there's likely something hidden in your radio. Another way for you to listen to The Fan. Go to 93.1 and look for the HD radio button. Press it and you'll hear The Fan everywhere.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, driver of the Discount Tire number 12 Ford Mustang. Wonder what gets me through to the checkered flag? A quick pit stop to check my tires and wheels. No matter where you're driving, properly maintained tires can make all the difference in tough weather conditions and when it comes to needing safe stopping power. Book a safety check online to get your tires inspected at a local tire retailer or do a quick tread depth check at home.
A message from the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is ESPN's Mike Greenberg, and ESPN Bet is now live. The official sportsbook of ESPN features daily exclusives and offers with your favorite ESPN shows and personalities like me. New users get $100 in bonus bets after making any sportsbook bet. Download the ESPN Bet app to sign up today. I'll see you there. ESPN Bet. What a play.
Must be 21 plus. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Maintaining your furnace or air conditioner got you worried? Join B&W's Premier Club.
See all the perks at bplusw.com. B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Drains is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Coming up on a Tuesday edition of the Wake Up Call, Rick Carlisle will join the show at 8 o'clock, plus the latest on Colts free agency. It's all 7 a.m. right here on The Fan.
Many thanks for joining us for the last 9 weeks on the Horizon Weekly on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan, our producer for the entirety of those shows, is James Adams, who is back in the Fan Studios on Monument Circle. This is the first one they, let me out in public, being the last one of the season, because we are broadcasting to you live from the Vallejo Fan Zone, which is in the Grand Hall across from the Indiana Farmers Coliseum. The next game will take place in all of 20 minutes from now. That's the 1 seed, Oakland, taking on the number 7 seed, Cleveland State. The 5-6 game is going to be Northern Kentucky and Milwaukee, and the man that will have the call on ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati as the voice of the Northern Kentucky Norse. You know him from his time in baseball, whether it's with the Louisville Bats or the Cincinnati Reds. It is Jim Kelch that joins us. Now, hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm very well, Greg. Thank you for having me on, and it's a pleasure for the first time to work with you on the same project.
We have been traveling in similar circles for so many years, and frankly, it is great to see you and guys like Chris Collins, Dan Hasty, etc., because it's not every school that travels radio anymore. And frankly, I certainly hope that my school, so to speak, at IUPUI, gets back to that in the very near future. I think we will. But what's it like traveling with this basketball team over the course for 4 or 5 months of the year?
Well, it's a lot of fun. Specifically this group this year, it's been a lot of fun. But as a question in general, it's great fun to travel around and do basketball and baseball year-round. See, some people look at it as a chore. The people that work in the front office of baseball teams and some people who work in administrations for colleges say, oh, you guys are going on the road. Thank goodness you're going on the road for a while. We've worked a lot of home games. Where we look at it, you and I as broadcasters, look at it as an opportunity to continue to do our thing, which is broadcast games. So we don't look at it as a chore. We look at it as an opportunity.
I think I've been to 42 of 50 states. I know that is largely because of my days doing IUPUI basketball games on the road for 9 years. And for the last 10 years, I've been doing just the home games, and I'm okay with that because my kids are, 12 and 9, daughter's about to be 13. And so I'm in a bit of a different stage of life from that perspective. Frankly, as they get older, I want to go back out to the road. I miss telling those crazy stories about the bus breaking down and having to get to the Southern Utah game in the back of a squad car. And was the last guy to get there because the team got there 15 minutes before I did, and they had to delay the start of the game 15 minutes, and we still won the game by 4 points at their place because you don't get those games, or you don't get those stories staying at home.
Well, I don't have anything nearly as exciting as those things, but what we look for are good restaurants locally.
As you can tell, I don't miss many restaurants.
Well, every city that we go to, we have a list of 3 or 4 places that we like to go.
Yep.
And usually now, particularly with cell phones, and you can Yelp things and find out what's around where you are, and we're fortunate enough for most trips to have a rental car so we can get out a little bit and discover some things. And so we come to Indianapolis, we have places to go. When we go to Green Bay, Milwaukee, wherever we may go, we have 3 or 4 places to choose from. And if we're going somewhere in the non-conference that we don't know about, well, then it's on to Yelp we go and try to find something nice.
All right, so the person you walked in here with is someone I have known for 30 years, and Rick Myers, and he is a legend in the sports information field, especially in terms of small colleges. And I bring him up just to give him a shout-out, but also to talk about the Division II pass to Northern Kentucky. This was a tremendous Division II program up until 2012. Go through the 4-year transition period, join the Horizon League, and NKU has seemingly been in this situation of playing a semifinal or a championship ever since they jumped in the league. What is it that made NKU able to hit the ground running immediately as soon as they were eligible in Division I?
Well, I think it's what you already mentioned, Greg, and that is the success they had at Division II made NKU an entity that players were aware of. And then from the Division I standpoint, they came in, and I think the arena, Truist Arena, is a huge, huge selling point. I used to work with a coach who said to me, in terms of college basketball, you need 3 major things to really draw and recruit good Division I athletes. 1, you have to have a beautiful arena.
Yep.
You have to have a beautiful arena. 2, it helps if you're near a big city.
You got that.
And NKU has both of those near Cincinnati, only 5 miles across the river to Cincinnati. And 3, you must be close to an international airport.
You got
so
that.
People from around the country, family members, friends, can get in to see you play when they want to come in to see you. And NKU has all 3 of those things in abundance. But I think above all of it is the arena sells players to come in. And then now the success that they have had. You look back at the D2 era, Kentucky Wesleyan had that same thing in the D2 era. NKU had it also under Kenny Shields. Bellarmine got it at the end of their D2 era, and they got it initially when Scotty Davenport took over there, although they are finding now that it's not quite as easy as they thought it was that second year when they thought they should have been in the NCAA tournament and not go through the 4-year transition period. I think the team up here in Indianapolis now on the women's side is doing the same thing, but not here in Evansville.
Right.
They're looking at the same thing. They can't go this year, and everybody thinks those things need to be put aside, but quite frankly, they do not, because it takes a while for everybody to transition and get set to do D1 stuff.
And they're not going to change the rules just because you had a really good season. You knew that going in. You knew it was a 4-year wait, but again, that's a topic and a conversation for a different day. All right, talking about your team, Marquez Warwick, the all-time leading scorer at Northern Kentucky. And that is a mouthful of a statement there because, again, I was around those great Division II teams. I know the great players that played for Kenny Shields and Mike Beitzel in years before that. It really struck me, I think it was Drew from Fox 19 that put together a package, about a 6-minute feature, right before Marquez became the leading scorer. And Darren got emotional, as in Darren Horn, and Marquez got emotional, and Marquez's mom got emotional. And you don't see guys that stick around that long anymore, and he's been there for 4 years. What has been the reason why it's been such a perfect marriage for he and playing for Coach Horn in Northern Kentucky?
Well, for Marquez Warwick, and really an extension of that, Trey Robinson, and then another year down the road, Sam Vincent. Why those guys want to come to NKU and stay is, I think, a lot of the things that we talked about earlier, but most importantly, the successful programs that they have put out year in and year out, and the fact that they develop, when I say they, the players develop under Coach Horn and his assistant coaches, not only to be really good basketball players, but to be really good people.
Yeah.
You know, because let's face it, a lot of the mid-major players, when they're finished, are not going to go star in the NBA. No. They're not probably going to go star in the G League, and they're not going to star across the pond in Europe. They may go over there and play a lot, but you're talking about players who have to become something other than just basketball players, and I think they help them do that. But the successful seasons they have year in, year out, this is the 6th straight year, for instance, that NKU has been to the Horizon League semifinals. Since the tournament switched here, NKU has been to Indianapolis all 5 years. That's the kind of thing that leads players like Marquez Warwick, Trey Robinson, hopefully Sam Vincent down the road, to come to NKU, to stay at NKU.
Well, you mentioned Sam Vincent. I had a pleasure of calling his games, first of all, playing for the Kentucky All-Stars a couple of years ago, and knew he would hit the ground running once he got to Highland Heights. Unfortunately, a midseason injury has cost him the rest of the season. Just has that, how much, I mean, they've adjusted to it now, but how big of a setback was that for Darren Horn and company?
Greg, I remember walking out of the arena out in California, St. Mary's is where it happened, 21st of December, thinking, oh, boy. Yeah. Our hopes were, as the number one preseason pick, was to go to the tournament up here and win it and go to the NCAA. And you're looking at it and thinking, our season has been lost. It's lost. But to the credit of these players and to the credit of these coaches, they figured out a way to get it done in a different way maybe than they were going to do it before. For instance, there were players, Randall Pettis being the player, who barely played before that game at St. Mary's. And he was the guy that Coach Horn really worked over sometimes in practice, because he was transitioning from high school where he was a star to college where he wasn't a star. And you know as well as anyone, sometimes players in high school get away with things when they're the star that don't sit very well with college coaches. And Randall was like that. But once he got his opportunity, he got through all that with Coach Horn, and once he got his opportunity, he has really, really shined, and it's going to help this team down the road, because Randall Pettis is going to be a year advanced where he would have been next year had this not happened to Sam. In fact, I talked to Sam Vincent about that today. He said, yeah, next year could be great because Randall Pettis is a year ahead of where he would have been, and so it's going to be really good. But they have the mentality, and you've heard Darren talk about it, the next play mentality. If you make a mistake, we don't want you to have done that. But don't double down on it by making another one right after that. Next play mentality, and what he calls it now is next game mentality. Right after the injury, they went to Fort Wayne, didn't play well, but then had a couple of overtime losses on the road. And they've slowly but surely, Greg, been able to put things together, put Sam behind them for this year, and endure the loss of Hubie Pavorius before the season started, a shooting fellow off the bench, and endure the departure of Cade Meyer. And at one point, with Keanu Tijere out for 3.5 games, 4 of the top 8 players on this team were not playing. 4 of the top 8 were out. But somehow they found a way to endure.
And here you are going to wear the home jerseys for the semifinal matchup. Give me a scouting report. How do you match up with Milwaukee?
Well, we beat them the first time. NKU, beat them the first time by 18 back at our place with a 17-0 run late in the second half to get over the top. At Milwaukee, much tighter battle. NKU had an opportunity, 2 chances late on a steal by Trey Robinson. When they defended, Milwaukee got down the floor, knocked it out of bounds. And then they get the ball in after the out-of-bounds play to Marquez Wark, who had a layup, somehow didn't get it, may have been a foul, may not have been a foul, but Milwaukee, to their credit, found the open man, and Angelo Stewart knocked down the game-winning 3. Milwaukee likes to get the shot off very quickly. They have one of the premier players in the league, and we'll just have to see how it goes tonight. You got star player. You got good support players on both sides. We'll see how it goes. You have had the pleasure of being in a lot of venues in your broadcast career, whether it's college basketball, minor league baseball, major league baseball. What do you like about the building across the street, the Indiana Farmers Coliseum? Well, I like that we're here and we're playing the tournament here. That's what I really, really like about it, because if we're not here, that means we didn't make it up here.
Right.
So, that's the best thing about it. And the other thing, Greg, is every team that comes here is somewhat familiar with it. It's not like they haven't been here before because it's the home of IUPUI.
Yep.
Next year, not to be IUI. And so everybody's a little bit familiar with it, although the floor is different for this tournament.
It is.
And there's more people here, generally speaking, for the tournament. And there's more life in the place. So that's a good thing. The other good thing about playing the tournament here in Indianapolis, it's only 2 hours away from Northern Kentucky, so that's the best. If you say, hey, you have to drive to Detroit and play in Little Caesars Arena up there, the beautiful home of the Pistons, or you can drive 2 hours to Indianapolis and play right here at Indiana Farmers Coliseum, I'll take this one any day.
Buddy, I appreciate the conversation and the kind words always when our paths get to cross once a year, hopefully more than that coming up in the near future. Thanks for the time today, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Jim Kelch again. He is the radio voice of Northern Kentucky these days, of course, the Louisville Bats as well, and kind enough to spend 15 minutes hanging out with me here this evening. We've got a couple minutes before we have to exit stage left and wrap up the show. So I promised you that I kind of wanted to go over both the first and second team all-conference squads in terms of the league, which will be in a matter of moments, but also wanted to provide more of a recap for the second game of the day. We talked about Cleveland State and Wright State. Cleveland State winning that one easily by a score of 83-50. Second game was much closer on the women's side. Green Bay beating Purdue-Fort Wayne by a score of 64-55. By the way, the Phoenix, 16 times they have won the Horizon League Tournament Championship. Again, obviously, they are the bellwether program in this league. However, in recent years, IUPUI won it in 20 and 22, led by Austin Park. It's now the head coach at Butler. In 21, it was Wright State, led by Katrina Merriweather, who then went to Memphis and now is the head coach at the University of Cincinnati. Last year, Cleveland State won the league. In other words, it's been a little bit since Green Bay has won, even though they've not dropped off terribly. They've still been really good. They got a great battle from Purdue-Fort Wayne in that one. Again, the game was tied at 48. Purdue-Fort Wayne led by 2, but Green Bay made their run late to get that victory, 64-55. So, again, that was the earlier final. The 7 o'clock games, or the 7 o'clock game that will take place, again, that will be Oakland against Cleveland State. Then the 5-6 game, again, that will be Milwaukee against Northern Kentucky. And again, really want to thank Jim Kelch for being kind enough to join us to talk about it. Now, the awards that I had referenced earlier, last week we touched on these. Player of the Year, Kobe Maples of Cleveland State. She's on the first team. Newcomer of the Year, Michaela Purdue of Cleveland State. She's also a first-team All-League performer. Speaking of Northern Kentucky, Carter McCray of Northern Kentucky, Freshman of the Year in the league. She has been tremendous all season long. Did not make the first team in the league, but was a second-team All-League performer. Natalie McNeil of Green Bay, Amelia Broman-Schenkel of Purdue-Fort Wayne, and Alexis Hutchison of Wright State, who had 23 points in the loss for the Wright State Raiders. Again, that comprised your first team in terms of the women's side of things in the league. From a men's perspective, if I can dig that up quickly for you and share it with you, I will do so, knowing that we're up against it time-wise. So unfortunately, I don't have the time to do that for you because, again, it was a great year in the league, and you will be able to watch some of those great first-team all-conference performers coming up at about 7 o'clock. Thanks to our engineer, Cam Blankenship, for spending his evening with me. Thanks to James Adams, who's been stuck listening to me for an hour each of the last 9 weeks. HorizonLeague.com/Indy has more. Simply put, doubleheader tonight, women's final at noon, men's championship tomorrow at 7. Get here and watch some great basketball. Thanks for joining us on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, JMV, thinning hair this year. Grow your hair back like I did. Call 317-522-2995 or visit WeGrowHairIndy.com today.
Want to cut